Well, let's start with the retained list. I mean, it's always one of those times of the years that I don't think managers ever particularly look forward to.
No, certainly for me, especially, it was a lot easier 3 years ago after we got relegated. That's for sure. But it's always difficult when you've worked with players for a long time and they've come in and shown the appetite and desire and represented the club in the right manner to let them go. But certainly want to thank them massively, and I've already done this for their efforts. But football doesn't stand still, and we've got to keep trying to move it forward.
Okay, so let's start with the ones that you've offered new deals to. Up front, Rory and Ellis looking to keep around. I guess similar but different in their own ways. They both play the same role, but in very different ways.
Certainly, I think they're two very good, what I call mobile number 9s, and certainly wanted by a lot of other clubs who also feel the same. So we're hoping to keep hold of them. It's easier said than done, because a lot of managers have spoke to me positively about them in the past and continue to do so. But certainly for me, the reason why they stay there is I see them being capable of trying to be top 6 League One players. And there's more areas of improvement, we know that. But certainly for me, second half of the season, we haven't scored enough goals. There's no hiding behind that fact, and I will be looking to bring in another 2-3 strikers to go, hopefully with the retained Ellis, Harrison and Gaffney.
And I suppose from their point of view, they both had really good purple patches during their time here. It's just that little bit more consistency in the scoring that's made the one bit lacking.
Yeah, but listen, you go through it. How many goals have we strikers scored this season? Obviously, we haven't scored enough goals when Taylor wasn't here, but other than that, you put Taylor's goals into the mix of Ellis, Harrison's and Gaffney's, you've got over 40 goals from your strike force, and Jermaine Easter's as well. So I don't know. Am I reading that everybody's got them? No. So sometimes you've got to realise of what you got. I think when players have been at a club 2-3 years, a lot of people can see the weaknesses rather than the strengths. I take away all of that rubbish and got massive faith in my players, and that's why they've been offered an extension.
Okay, and James Clarke, since he's come to the club, has been one of those really good. Calling him a squad player seems mean to him, but he's filled in so many different ways.
No, but you're right. He's a fantastic squad player. And forgive me if I'm wrong for saying this. The game's about a squad, isn't it? Not about a starting 11, like you say there. James Clarke, when he's played left back, right back, centre half in a 3, centre half in a 2. I think he's been an outstanding, and I also another player that I believe with a little bit more belief in his ability with the ball. He's another one that I believe can be a top 6 League One player.
And he's just one of a number of players who've shown that they can make the step up from non-league into the Football League very successfully.
Yes, certainly. I mean, we're going to fall short of the top 6 this year, but for me, the players have had a good look at the division. I think they've improved throughout the season. Obviously, we had 1 or 2 players join us that has helped us to strengthen that sort of position. So we've got 33 points to first half, 33 points to second half, trying to bring it all together. I'm sure there'll be plenty of recruitment in the summer.
Have you been given any indication, obviously you talk to these guys, any indication about their likely answers to the questions?
Well, listen, everything goes down to budget, doesn't it? So we'll wait to see what I know we've got meetings in middle of May to see what the budget is and how we're going to go about recruitment. So when I get that, and plenty of talks with the owner and the chairman and Steve Brookfield, and when we get that, we'll be finalising our plans. There's already plenty of work going in behind the scenes, but we'll have to wait and see, and I'm sure it'll be a busy summer.
Are you looking to sort of set deadlines so that you can get your plans and then move on if you need to?
Deadline for
them to re-sign or give you an indication of whether they want to stick around or not?
There's no specific deadline been set yet. It depends what mood I'm in it really. When I wake up in a bad mood, innit? So pull the plug. Listen, every player has a value. Sometimes players get turned by other clubs, maybe financially, but I certainly don't budge off the value what I think a player's worth, and if the player moves on, he moves on. Simple as that. Goes to another club and I move on very quickly. Simple, really. To be honest, I don't really get too hung up. To be honest with you, a lot's always said at football clubs and recruiting. And forgive me if I'm wrong again, but I think after the conference year, well, we haven't got enough quality in League Two. Well, we got promoted out of League Two. That's a lot of people said. And then forgive me, this summer, well, we haven't really strengthened much, and we've finished in the top 10 and been in a playoff chase for most of the summer as well. So I'm sure now the majority of our supporters will have faith in what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to move the club forward to make sure that we're a very competitive team next season.
And just briefly with the ones who are leaving, Jermaine, you mentioned obviously earlier in the year he has played a bit recently, but I suppose Christian's probably the one who's next played the most minutes. Was that a tough decision to decide to release him?
Very tough decision. They're all tough decisions. Christian, for me, he was borderline, to be honest with you, but I just feel that there has to be a freshness and a bigger freshness than we've probably had over the last couple of years. You know, I'll be looking to recruit with the shall we say the senior boys. Will take me to a senior squad of 14 contracted players, so I'll be looking to recruit 10, 11 players in the summer to make us really competitive, but yeah, again, it'll all go down to budget.
Okay, and then on the coaching side of things, a couple of the older heads you're looking to keep around. I think there'll be a lot of Rovers fans that'll be very happy about that. Yes,
and it's very important for me and the owner that we're building proper infrastructure through the club, and the likes of Lee Mansell and Steve Milden all have obviously played a massive part in the success, certainly with myself over the last 3 years, and to produce and bringing through the younger players through the team. It's a lot better to see players that know how the manager works. And don't make me wrong, this ain't a favour. This is because I believe they'll be good coaches. They're working hard to finalise their badges, so they've got that, but they also know how the club should be run and what the manager players required to get into my thoughts, and what better way to having two players that have done very well for the football club.
Yeah. And having that sort of bridge between people who played relatively recently and know some of the characters of the people involved, and they're both pretty lively characters, aren't they? They both have their say as well. They're good fits from that point of view.
No, good. Listen, they wouldn't be at the club. I ain't got an ounce of sentiment in my body, to be honest with you. Although I make tough decisions, sentiment goes round out the window when you've got to make key decisions like that. And the reason why they've come into or been offered the coaching roles is I know they could add massive value into that and bringing players in for the future and improving players.
Would you be hopeful of yeses from both of them?
Hey, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I'll be hopeful, but there's no guarantees in football, as we know.
Absolutely. And from what you said, it sounds like a busy summer ahead for you.
Yeah, they're always very busy, isn't it? So the madhouse begins, doesn't it? So linked with every player, and the Bristol Post talking a lot of rubbish because he's next to me, so I'll get that one in as well, linking me with everybody they ain't got a bloody clue about. So I keep my transfer business to myself, to be honest. Joking aside, there I am. Joking aside, and I do it in the right manner, and I speak to some managers if they're contracted at that specific club, and I speak to players and agents when I am interested in, but no doubt you'll get the normal rubbish that's written.
I should look forward to that then.
Yeah.
And in terms of, there's a couple I'm sure you have interest in because you've had them for the last few months, but Sweeney and Lumley have made a big difference, and I'm sure if you could, you'd like to see them stick around.
And there's another question. I don't be disrespectful to go and speak about somebody else's players. They're not our players. They're contracted to QPR and Stoke, so I'm not making no comment on that. I'd like to, thank them for their efforts while they've been at this football club, and we'll see what the future holds.
Okay.
Good try though.
You've got to ask the question.
You know you got to.
So Millwall this weekend, there's an element of what might have been, but it's not going to be an end of season match given what's on it for them.
No, certainly not, and certainly one that we don't want to show as an end of season match as well. We want to do well in our last home game. I think someone told me that the record over the last 3 years of our home form's one of the best in the country, so we want to continue and finish that on the high this season against Millwall, who are obviously fighting for the playoffs. But I certainly, I'm very respectful for the teams that are trying to get that last playoff berth, and I'll certainly be taking the game very seriously, because I know if I was a manager of Southend and Rochdale and Phil and Keith Hill, who I know very well, and Neil Harris, who I get on very well with as well. But for me, it's about being professional, doing our job right, and trying to win a game for our supporters. And we know you love a stat, so I think if you get another home win, that would be the best run of home results in more than 20 years. Stat it in my other records, isn't it? So just put it away with all the other ones we've broke over the last 3 years, isn't it? But that'd be a great achievement. Joking aside, I'm sounding big-headed there. No, listen, we equalled the club away records last season, didn't we? We've the amount of games we've probably come back with in the last 3 years as well. That's probably the highest as well, to be honest with you as well. So, but to get another record of beating 20 years. It'd be great, and we'll use that as an incentive, because I didn't know that, and that's very unusual, that, so I'll pin that up in the change rooms. Absolutely. Sunday. And is there one, actually,
again, joking, so is there one of those that gives you more pleasure? Is there any of the records that you've had over the last couple of years that you think, do you know what, that one really does?
Do you know what, Ed? I just love winning football games, mate. Do you know what I mean? I think as a manager, I've managed something like 320 games. I don't think I've ever lost 3 games in the spin. Do you know what I mean? These records are proud of, but it's always about winning your next football game. You know, it's records we can be proud of that we've achieved in the 3 years, but I try to put them to bed quickly and move on and try and build more of a legacy and try and build more success, and which we're all desperate for.